Right, let's start learning a little bit about HTML. Actually, we're going to learn a bit more than HTML. We're going to learn some JavaScript. We're going to learn some CSS for cascading style sheets. We're going to learn a little bit about PHP. We're going to learn about a database, how to create a database. We're going to do quite a lot of things which, on the surface of it, is for interest. But if you're taking GCSE computer science, then a lot of these things will be sort of necessary. You'll meet them in the exam or we'll talk about them, and now you've got the experience of doing them. You can't do this without having a web server. I'm not inventing any of this. I've been sort of programming web pages since the very start, 1994, and I've seen it evolve and grow, and I've seen the changes, which again, as I said, on history, I want to bring to you at some point because I think it's interesting to know where it's come from and where it's going. One of the things that I can tell you is that the majority of things I've learned from books. However, books aren't very good because they go out of date. So I learn a version, pay £20 for a book, then a new version comes out, you've got to pay another £20 to learn that. So books are good, they're hanging around. You can learn all about HTML and CSS from books, but there is one absolute superb website which is devoted to the web standard, and that's the whole point. It is a standard, and that's called W3 Schools, and I use this quite a lot. So let's go and take a look at this website itself. Let's create a new tab. If I type W3 Schools, and it's got nothing to do with schools as in normal schools. It's online tutorials. You can use this. You don't need to go through my videos. You don't need to listen to a word I say. You can just go through whatever they teach you here. And basically, they cover everything that you need to know, more than I will, in far greater depth. So if you're going to start learning about HTML, click on Learn HTML, and the site will come up. So I'm going to make it larger. I want you to notice what happened when I made it larger. To begin with, we only had HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then more when the browser was minimized. Remember, I was talking in the last one about changing how it appears for a mobile phone. This is exactly what I mean. As we make the browser bigger, so we get more menu options: JavaScript, SQL, Python, PHP, Bootstrap, everything you need to learn. In fact, all along here, we need to learn all of this if we're going to be doing GCSE. We just need a basic understanding of it. But if you're going to be working in web development, then this is really, really useful stuff. But as we made the screen larger, so we got more effects in the web page, and that is because we are using this line of code in our web page. That's exactly what it does. So you can go through this. There's a lot to go through. This is just the HTML part. Once we've learned HTML, we'll probably move on to CSS, and there's equally just as much in CSS. There's probably even more in JavaScript, and if you can imagine paying £20 for each one of these books, it costs a lot of money for it to be changed every couple of years. So coming to this site, W3 Schools, it's always got the latest version. It's always working on the latest version. So it's really good. You don't have to keep buying things. You can sort of take a course with this website. You can do exercises, fill them out. You can take quizzes, and you can have certificates, which I think you have to sort of pay to join them to get a certificate. But if you are W3 School certified, then that's a good document to have. So maybe you want to go through their courses rather than mine. It's up to you. I will not be covering everything they do. They really cover everything in HTML. I'm going to give you just enough for you to manage. Later on, if you want to learn about it, you can come here and get further information. So that is a superb website. I shall be using it myself to go through, so maybe you want to back up what I'm saying by going through these lessons themselves, so we can find out what HTML is, etc., and move on through the lessons by clicking the next button. Whoops, seems to have gone past it. There we go, by clicking the next button once you've gone through. This is useful. This is about the history of it all. As I told you, I started writing web pages in 1994 when HTML had just started. In fact, that's when the internet first came out. So it was in process before then, 1991. This is 25 years ago, which is a long, long time. But really the big changes came here in HTML4, which they call dynamic HTML, and that's really when the web pages as we know them has started. And we're going to use a lot of HTML4 as we go along. This one, HTML, 20 years ago, XHTML, sorry, that is very, very strict. You have to have all your tags and your closing tags and the words absolutely correct. HTML actually is very sloppy, very loose. As we've seen before, you could just write an empty file and it would still display in a browser. This will not allow you to, and we will look at that at some point and how to check that our code is correct. We are always aiming for correct code. We're always aiming for this style. And the current one that we're working on, HTML5, only started, 5 years ago, 2014. So it's relatively new, but it really gives us a lot more things to play with and a better experience. However, we have to be careful because a lot of the things that we do will not fall into this category, and if we try to validate our web pages, they might not work. So this is a reference you can go to for your work, or you can follow along with the videos. It's up to you. You work at your own pace, really. I'm not proud. I don't mind you going to have a look at somebody else's stuff, and also I shall be using a lot of their stuff in the videos. You can't avoid it because there's only one way of having a web page, and they say it, I say it, and away it goes. So that's a little introduction. Sorry we got into no programming there. That was the intention. Just give you a taster of what we're going to be doing.